Today we're building this responsive company landing page in HTML, CSS, and a tiny bit of JavaScript. Up top we have our logo, we have a drop-down menu within a navigation menu and a login and a register button. We have our hero section with a call to action, some text and a nice picture, as well as partners displayed down below here. Scrolling down we get to what we do section that displays in some nice hover effect cards, and we have a nice overview over our achievements. Further, we have our portfolio section where we can showcase our projects for the company. And then we have our testimonials that have a really cool slider effect here where we can either drag and drop with our mouse or our fingers, or we can click here on the arrow buttons. And then at the bottom we have our newsletter sign up, as well as our footer with links to social media sites and taking us back to different sections on our page. This website looks great on a big screen, a smaller screen, and of course also on mobile, where we've switched our navigation menu to a hamburger menu. The website and all its elements are properly adjusted for a mobile view and looks great on any surface. This is a beginner-friendly tutorial as I will be explaining all the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code that we are writing. You do not need any prerequisites to be able to start on this coding tutorial, but it helps if you have some knowledge in HTML and CSS. We will be using Google Fonts to add a custom font to our website. We'll be using the npm package Slick Carousel to give us that slider effect. We'll be using Bootstrap to style our HTML. We'll be using Visual Studio Code to write our code, and we'll be using Netlify to deploy our website online so that we get a URL that we can visit from anywhere. To get started, I have opened my Visual Studio Code. If you don't have Visual Studio Code, you can download it on code.visualstudio.com. Download it for either PC or Mac. And then when we open it, it looks like this. I'm gonna create a new folder on my desktop. I'm gonna call it Responsive Website Project. Like so. I'm going to drag that into VS Code, and that opens up our project, our folder within VS Code. So now we're working within this folder. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to go down in the description of this video and you're going to click on the assets link, and here you're going to find the finished code for this project, and we are just going to click this green button and we're going to download this zip, because we're going to be just downloading all the images that we need for this project. In our VS Code, we are going to create a new folder. We are going to call it assets, like so. We're going to open our downloads. We're going to go into the project folder. We're going to go into the assets folder here, and we're going to drag and drop the image folder into the assets folder, like so. And then we can see that we have our images that we are using in this project fully downloaded and in our project. So we can close the assets folder now, close the image. Then we're going to create an index.html file. That's going to be the main file for where we are writing our HTML. For now, let's just write exclamation marks so we get a shorthand for some basic HTML template. You can save that, like so. You see that my code is reformatting how it's styled. That is because I have an extension installed called Prettier Code Formatter. So go ahead and click on the extension tab here and install Prettier Code Formatter if you want your code to be automatically formatted visually like mine is. You can see down here I have Prettier enabled, and that's going to help you keep your code similar to mine. The next two things we are going to do, we're going to create a new folder here. We're going to call it CSS. Inside of this folder, we're going to create a new file called style.css, and we can leave that empty for now. And we're going to create another folder. We're going to call it JS. And inside of here, we are going to also create a new file called script.js. And so we have our CSS for styling, we have our images that we're going to use, we have our script file, our JavaScript file, and we have our index.html file. So that's all the files we need. We are ready to start coding. Another extension that we are going to be using now is a live server. So go ahead and install that as well. Live, you can search for live server by Ritwik Day and install this package here. It is going to enable us to run our website live as if it's hosted somewhere on the internet. So if we click go live down here, that opens our website here. As we can see, index.html, and you see that our title in our HTML document is displayed up here. So let's give it a better title, Design Agency. Save that, and we see that it automatically updates our website on save. That's basically what Live Server does. Back in our Explorer, we can also close this, give us a bit more space. If we want to view all our code and not have to scroll like this, we can also turn on our word wrap in view, like so. I'm gonna zoom in here a bit so we can see our code a bit better. So if you're new to HTML, what this means is that we are starting within HTML brackets. We are declaring that within these two things, and that's where all our other code is gonna sit, we are gonna write HTML. That's how the browsers understand how to read and display our code. And then inside of here, we are saying this HTML has the language of English. Okay, fine enough. And then within that one, we have, this is the head. That's where we put our metadata, or basically information that is not purely visible on the website itself, but it's visible other places, and it's useful for devices. So like our title, it's actually visible not on the web page, but on the web browser kind of tab button here. And as for UTF-8, that's how it specifies the character encoding for this document. And UTF-8 kind of encompasses pretty much all symbols in the world. So it's a standard way to write this. And the next one, the meta viewport and the initial scale 1.0, that controls the layout on mobile browsers. So width, device width makes the layout render at an actual device width, and initial scale 1 establishes a one-to-one relationship between the CSS pixels and device independent pixels. This basically helps ensure that there's a consistency across devices. The next thing we are going to do now is we're going to import a lot of code that we're going to need. So we're going to import the code we need to run our slider. We're going to import some code from Bootstrap to use the pre-made styling, so then we don't have to style everything ourselves. And we're going to import our Google font. So first off, if we go to Google Fonts, we search Poppins, like so. We click on Poppins, and we go down here and we select everything from 300 and up. $400, $500, $600, not the italic, $700, $800, and $900. And then we click this button up here, and we can just copy paste this code here and paste it right in under our title, like so. So now we're ready to use our Google font, our Poppins font. We can go ahead and close that. Now I'm gonna ask you to actually open the folder you downloaded again. We're gonna go back to our index. We're gonna open our index with Visual Studio Code. We're gonna open, yes. And here you see that we have the ready-made HTML. We're not going to copy paste all of that. We are just going to copy everything that is inside of the head, because it's a bit boring for you to type this out and watch me type. It's basically, I can explain, this is the Google font we just downloaded. This is the Slick theme, basically what makes our carousel work, and then the Bootstrap we are downloading here to have some ready-made Bootstrap styling that we can take use of. This is also to make the carousel work, this is styling, and this is the carousel, and then this is our script that we are linking to our own JavaScript file. So copy that, and we are just gonna replace it here in the head, like so. Save that. And this is some explanations for what these things do. You can also remove the comments if you want, like so. That cleans it up. So here's our styles, here's our script, our JavaScript, and then here we can write this one. We are going to link to our JavaScript file that we have here. The way we do that is we write script, and then we write src, and then we need to link to it. If we write dash here now, slash I mean, we see that we have the option to go into this assets folder. That's what we're going to do. And then if we click into the JS folder, we find the script file. And we hit save, like so. And if you follow the link, it should open the correct file, and it does. Now we're ready to actually get some content on our page. Inside of our body, we are gonna start creating our header. So we're gonna say header start here. And here we are gonna start with a header element, like so. We are gonna give that a class of site header. I'm gonna explain in a second what this means. py3 fixed top. So what is going on here? Well, here we are creating our header. And the header is going to be everything up here in the finished product that basically contains our logo and our navigation menu. And the class that we are adding here is so that we can style that header using different styling names. So we're going to give site header one form of styling, py-3 is another form of styling, and fixed top is yet another form of styling. So here we have three different types of stylings separated by space that basically call to this header here with this class and say, hey, display it in these ways. We haven't defined yet what these do, these two. We're going to do that later, but py3 is actually bootstrap. And whenever you see these like shortenings dash a number, it's usually going to be bootstrap that we're using. And when it's more like long format words, it's a styling that we have made ourselves or we're going to be making. So if you go to getbootstrap.com/docs/5.0 utilities, and then you go to spacing, you see that this is actually the py3. If we see here, we scroll down, we see that px2 gives padding left, and x is in the horizontal direction, so it's padding left, padding right, and that's what px2 does. If you put py2, it would give the same, but just top and bottom, and that's basically what Bootstrap does. It has a lot of these shorthand styling properties that we can quickly use to make something visually appealing very fast without having to make it ourselves. P is basically padding, Y is the direction, and then 3 is the size, where we can see here that the 3 is going to be set to margin of padding to spacer. I am not going to be explaining what every single styling property does from Bootstrap, but if you are unsure of what anything does, just simply Google Bootstrap and then Google py3 and you'll get to here. Another one we're going to be using shortly is mb2. If you Google that, you see that that also gets you where you want. M for margin. We're also going to be using gx5 in a moment. and then you see that that's gutters. So it's very efficient to just Google it and you see what shows up. Inside of our header, we're gonna have a div, and a div is kind of a catch-all HTML element that we use when we don't really have anything other that is semantically correct. Usually a container of some sort. And here we are going to use the class of container that we're going to style later. Okay, save that. And then inside of the div, we are going to create a nav element that is for navigation. It's going to have a class, and that class is going to be navbar and navbar-expand, and also LG here, and then also P0, like so. Inside of this navbar, we are going to have an A element that is a link element. It is going to have an href of just hashtag for now, because we don't really want it to lead anywhere, but you can decide that on your own. Design, and then we want to write a span here, like so. And then inside of the span, we want to write agency, like so. And then we save, and then we see that this link works because we get a hashtag up here. The span element is used just to separate certain HTML elements. It's a bit like a div, used to basically target the different words and style them usually differently. That's what we're going to do. Then under the A, still inside of the nav element, we are going to write button. And you see that I'm just writing the elements. I'm not starting with the brackets to just save some time, as VS Code suggests which element we want to actually write. Inside of the button, we are going to write a span, and it is going to have a class of navbar-toggler icon, like so. Here we can see that Bootstrap is doing its thing, and then we are going to give this button a couple of attributes. So we are going to give it a class of navbar-toggler. We are going to give it a type of button. We are going to give it a data BS toggle, and that's going to be equal to collapse, like so. Then we're going to copy this down, Shift Alt down, data BS target, and that's going to be hashtag navbar supported content. And Shift Alt down as well. We're gonna write area, let's see, controls. It is gonna be navbar supported content without the hashtag. And then we're gonna write aria expanded false. And last, aria label toggle navigation, like so. The class navbar-toggler is also used in Bootstrap to basically give the right visual feel and functionality to our button when it is in a navbar. The type equal button means that this button is actually a button and not, for example, a submit button or a reset button for a form. This is a button. And the data-bs toggle is also a bootstrap that indicates that when we click this button, it should collapse any form there or any menu we have open. As we can see that it does here, when we click this, it collapses the menu. And the ARIA controls basically give access to screen readers to enhance accessibility for users with disabilities. And the ARIA expanded false indicates that the current state of the element is false, so it's closed or hidden. And then when we open it, it becomes true. And this again is for assistive technologies to basically read what this button does. Now we have our button. Let's inspect our page and we can see like so here that we have everything we have here. We can see inside of our body, we see our header, we see that it's taking the whole width, we see our container here, we see our navbar split into two, and we see that we have a logo on the left and our button on the right here that isn't visible just yet. I see that we have in our console a error here. If we scroll up, we are actually importing something we don't need, like so. Let's just remove that one under our Google Fonts. And there we go. That removes the errors here. It was just some old code that we don't need. So back to our header and under our button. Under here, we're going to have another div. It is going to have a class of collapse as well as navbar-collapse. And then it is also going to have an ID. An ID can only be used once for one element, whilst a class can go on many different elements. And it's just another way to target one specific element. Whilst classes target many potentially elements, IDs target always one specific element. So if you want something to do something specific, you usually use IDs. So we're going to call it navbar supported content. And then inside of this div, we're going to give it an unordered list element, like so. So unordered list means it's not it's not counting 1, 2, 3, etc. It's just bullet points. And then we need a list item inside, an actual bullet point. So the UL is going to have a class of navbar-nav, as well as MS-auto, as well as MB2, as well as MB-LG, and as well LG0, sorry, and as well as GX5. Save that. And then our list item is going to have a class of nav item, and then space drop down. Inside of this list, we're going to have an A element, and it is going to have an href of hashtag, because it's not leading anywhere now. We are going to be writing services here, like so. And we don't see the menu now, but we can kind of, if we hover over here, we see that we have something we can click. It's not the right color now, so that's why we don't see it. But we see that if we click it, services shows up. So Bootstrap, it's doing its job. It just doesn't have the correct styling, so we don't see it yet. But we see that we click it, and a drop-down menu with services actually pops up. Cool, huh? Then, in addition to the href, it's going to have a class. It's going to have a class of nav.link, as well as drop down toggle, as well as text dash dark, as well as FW regular. There we go. In addition to that, it's gonna have an ID of nav bar drop down with capital D. It's gonna have a role of button, and it's gonna have a data BS toggle of drop down as well, making this a drop down button with bootstrap, and an area, let's see, area expanded as well, that is false. Okay, we see services now has another drop down menu. Great. Inside of here, after services, we're going to give an image, and it is going to have a source of assets dash image dash down arrow PNG. It is going to have an alt of arrow, and it is also going to have a class of ms-2, like so. Let's click it. We see we have our arrow here. Then after our A, we're going to write another UL. It is going to have a class of drop down menu, and it is going to have an area, a label labeled by, and nav bar drop down. And this is an attribute, and you can, by the way, just hover over anything and you see what it does. You see that it identifies the element or elements that labels the current elements. Basically a way to reference other elements within the menu here. Then we're going to add a list element. Inside of here it's going to be another A element. We're going to say drop down item, and then text dark. We also are going to add an href here, and it is going to have hashtag and action, like so. Now we're going to copy our list down, Shift Alt down. It's also going to be list item here, or it's also going to be a drop down item. It is not going to be text dark. It's going to be hashtag in the href, and sub menu item 3, like so. And then we're going to Shift Alt down again. We're going to have drop down item, text dark here as well, href hashtag, and then submenu item 3. I'm just going to write something else here, like so. Then under the list, under the UL, and under the another list here, third down, we're going to write another list. It is going to have a class of nav item. It is going to have a link, and inside here, hashtag. We're just putting hashtag on the links so they don't really lead anywhere. They just lead to the same page. But this is, of course, for you to be able to put whatever links you want. You could put google.com here if you wish it. Class nav dash link, separate tags, text space, text dash dark space FW regular. There we go. If we open our invisible button here, we see that it's starting to look like something. Let us copy this last list down, Shift Alt down. It is going to be exactly the same, apart from here it's going to say contact us, like so. Clicking it, we see that it arrives. Okay, one more time, copy it down. This one is going to have a different class. It's going to be navlink, text dark, f regular, but it's also going to have btn. It's going to have btn dash outline dash success. It's going to have px dash 4, and it's going to have radius dash 10. Like so. And this one is going to have login. Then we copy this list down, Shift Alt down. This one is going to be called register. That's our two buttons here in our finished nav menu. So we see our services has a drop-down menu. We have our main navigation elements, and then we have our two buttons here. And those two buttons are the ones we're making now, as we can see here. They're already being styled by Bootstrap. So I see that we have a problem here. When we click here, our services doesn't show up. Nothing is happening. So we have written something wrong, or actually forgot to write something, most likely. Yeah, I see. First of all, we have in our A here, in our design agency, we need to have a class here. We forgot to add a class. Navbar dash brand, and also P0 and also M0, like so. That's first of all. And then the services button isn't working. And if we scroll down, we see that in our register button here, we need to put it to text white, regular button, button not outline, success. We want to change this to button success. And then the rest is the same. Let's click. We see now that they have a different color. Great. Getting closer. If we scroll up to, let's find the services. Here we go. That's the services button here. This is not supposed to be target. This is supposed to be toggle. Data BS, not target, but toggle. Let's fix that. And that opens up our submenus correctly. Great. What have I written here? Well, apologies, it's a bit messy here. I'm not drunk, I swear. The href is supposed to be classes in the drop-down menu here, because otherwise that doesn't work. Okay, that's looking better. Okay, then we are done with our header. Sorry that it was so much bugs and misspellings here, but the header was the most tricky one with all the drop-down functionality. The rest of the HTML is much more easily written. Now let's hop on into our style sheet in our assets, and then CSS, and then style.css folder. And here we're gonna start actually styling our navigation. Starting off, we're gonna target our body element, which is basically everything inside of our body HTML. So if we kind of close this, we collapse it here, let's see. We see that everything we are writing is inside of our body HTML tag. So let's go back to our style sheet. We want to target everything in our body and everything in our HTML actually. and we want to give it a font family. And as you can see, when you start writing a word in CSS or in VS Code actually, you get suggestions. So it's pretty easy to see what you can pick, and with the arrow buttons you can choose font family. That's how we can speed up our typing a bit. And here we want to write Poppins, save that. And then we want to write, if Poppins is not available, we want to write sans serif, like so. And let's just restart. Let's see. There we go. Now we see it should have gotten the Poppins font family. We see that it has, as we can see here. If I turn it on and off, you see that it changes how this logo looks. Then we're going to target all images. We're going to say they're going to have a max width of 100%, like so. And they're also going to have a height of auto, like so. That's just kind of standard formatting we want to put on the entire website. And then we're going to start writing our header CSS start here. We're going to shift alt down and write end. And inside of here, this is just to keep, the comments are just to keep like order in our style sheet so we know where we are. You can hold Control KC to comment and Control KU to comment out again. The first we're going to target is our navbar-toggler, and we're going to say focus. When we focus on this one, we want to give it a box shadow of 0, 0, 0, and 0.25. So these are the directions and the opacity of this shadow. Rem is 16 pixels is 1 rem. It's just a different sizing metric. And we want to give it the color of 20B1 5A6B, like so. Okay. We see that the border here, the focus actually, see when it's focused, that's the border. Or the shadow actually. Cool, it's working. Then we're gonna copy paste this down. We are gonna say toggler not focus, but dash icon. We're gonna give it a background image. And then inside of here, we're going to paste a URL, and you're just going to go down to the description of this video and you're going to copy paste that URL that is written there. It's going to be navbar-toggler icon. It's going to be noted with that. And this is basically, if we paste that in and we save, we see that we have our menu icon here. And that is basically if we copy paste this URL here, everything within the double quotes, we can see that we have our icon here. That's the same icon as we have here. Same icon. And it's just that it's saved as an SVG and it's saved online at this address. So we're just getting it from there. Next thing we want to do, we want to add a drop down menu. Here we want to add a margin of 0. Then we want to add some padding of 0. And then we want to add some border radius of 0 and border of 0. What this does is it gives margin. Let's see. If you inspect here, you see, if you inspect any object, you see that part, and you see, let's see if we can find something with, here we go. The container has a padding here. The padding is the green one. And let's see if we have a margin. Margins are orange. Let's see, we don't have a margin. Let's just add something here. 100 pixels. It's going to be a lot, but let's see. No. Let's just add a margin here. Container. We can just add it right here. Margin 20 pixels. Adding that. And there we see the margin is also 20 pixels. So that's, the margins are orange, the paddings are green. And it's just two ways to add space outside of an element. Or actually, the margins are outside of the border of the container, between the container and another element, whilst padding is inside of the container's border. That is the difference between them. So let's just refresh. And then if we have our border radius, we see if we put that to 30 pixels, then we're gonna target our drop-down item when it is active. And we can just Shift-Alt copy that down 3 times. Drop-down item, actually 2 times. Hover, like so. And then we are gonna give it a background color of hashtag and then 20 B15A, like so, which is a bright green. Let's see, that is working. Next we're gonna target the drop-down item. And we are gonna say font size 16 pixels. We are gonna say font weight 400. Line height 1. We are gonna say padding 15 pixels and 20 pixels. We are gonna say color black, and we're gonna give them a border bottom of 1 pixel, solid, hashtag E5, 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 like so. Next up, we're gonna go to our list. We're gonna target the last child, and then we're gonna go into the drop down item. So I don't know if I explained that, but when we have a space between 2 classes in our CSS, it means that we're first going to this element, and then inside of that element, we're picking this element, and then we can go down as far as we want, like this. So now we're going to list last child drop down element. And then we're gonna say border, basically that's this one. We're gonna say border bottom none, like so. So it's only dividing between the items and not at the bottom here. Then we're gonna choose the nav bar brand, and we're gonna choose when we hover over it. The color is gonna be set to inherit, like so. And then we're gonna choose the nav bar brand, and then the span inside of it. And we're going to say color. We're going to say hashtag F55 F1D. Like so. We see that we're getting our design agency logo here. Also, we're gonna add a targeting to navbar brand in general. We are gonna choose the font size to be 20 pixels. We're gonna give it a font weight of 700. We are gonna give it a line height of 30 pixels. And we're gonna give it a color of inherit as well. That's gonna turn it black. Okay, cool. Nice. That is looking quite similar. Cool. Then after that, we are gonna choose our, like so, drop down, let's see, drop down toggle. And then after, and basically that's this drop down. After the drop down, after it is this little sign here. We're going to say display none. So now we have removed that. Next we want to target our header, and then we want to go into the nav bar and expand. And then we want to go into the nav bar nav. We want to give it a column gap of 30 pixels, like so. Expand dash LG, let's not forget that. Then we're gonna target the text dark class, and we're gonna give that a color of black. Like so. So everything with a text dark is gonna have a black color. Then we're gonna target the FW regular class, and then we're gonna give that a font weight, let's see, of 500. Then we are gonna copy paste that down. We're gonna target, let's see, we're gonna target the radius 10, and then we're gonna give it a border radius of 10 pixels, like so. Yeah, cool, starting to look like it. Then we are gonna target our button, outline success, and we are gonna give it a border color of hashtag 20, and then we already have that suggested 20B15A that we've already used, which is very useful. And then we are gonna have, can copy paste this one down, button online success, and then hover, and that's gonna be, let's see, that's gonna be white, like so. Then we're gonna target BTN success, and we're gonna give it a border color of hashtag 20. I'm gonna pick the same one, and same for the background color, hashtag 20. Pick this one as well. There we go. Then we are gonna target the header fixed, and the fixed top inside of it, and we are gonna say background color hashtag D7F5DC, Then we're gonna go into the header and into the fixed top. Be sure to not have a space between here, like so. It needs to be header dot fixed top. And then we are gonna go and give that a background color of hashtag D7 F5 NDC, like so, which gives us that sticky header background color. That is all for our header. Now we have our header. It looks like the one we have in our finished project. Now we can move on to our hero section. Back into our index.js file, we can close our header like so. We can create a new comment here, call that hero banner start, copy that down, call that the end. And then inside of here, we are gonna have, first of all, we're gonna have a section. And this section is going to be called, or it's going to have a class of hero banner. And in HTML, you can basically divide different parts of your website into sections. So this is a section, this is a section, I think this is a section as well, this is a section. So all the different parts we can divide into sections, and this is very useful and also semantically correct. When we want to scroll to a different part of our website with a click, for example, sections are a good way to divide content and actually have a place to scroll to. Inside of this section, we're going to have a div. It's going to have a class of container. And inside of here, it's going to be a div as well. It's going to have a class of row. And inside of here, we're going to have another div, and it is going to have a class call md6 dflex. These are all Bootstrap class names. Flex column align. Let's see. Align items, start, and then justify content center. Inside of this class, we are gonna have a h2, that's a heading, increase your customer loyalty and satisfaction, like so. Not being hidden, most of it under the banner here. Then we're gonna have a paragraph. We help businesses like yours earn more customers, stand out from competitors, make more money. And make more money. Then we're gonna have our link element. It's gonna lead to nowhere. And then we're gonna have, and it's also gonna have a class of nav link text white fw regular btn success px4 and radius 10. Inside of our button, we're gonna write get started. Now under this div, we're gonna have another div. It's gonna have an image in here, and that image is gonna have a source to assets down in the images and group 38 PNG. And it's gonna have an alt of hero banner image Save that. There is our hero banner. The div that has the image as well, it's gonna have a class, column, MD6, like so. So that's the beauty of Bootstrap. You get very quickly good classes and styling without having to write a lot of the code yourself. But you do need to know what to use. Then under our last div here, closing div tag, we're going to create another div. It is going to have a class of social logos, like so. Inside of here, we are going to have another div. It's going to have a class of container. And inside of here, we're going to have a UL. It's going to have a class of nav and justify content between, like so. Inside of the UL, we are going to have a list item. And inside a list, we're going to have an image. The source is going to be assets, image, and then logos, Google, PNG, and then the alt is gonna be Google. So that's this part here that we're making now. We're gonna copy down the list elements 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then of course change them. The next one is gonna be Trello, and after that it's gonna be Monday. After that it's gonna be Notion, and after that last it's gonna be Slack. And let's update the alt text as well. Trello, Monday, Notion, and Slack. The alt text is also for people who use a screen reader to navigate the screen. There's all our logos. Of course, it's all jumbled together now. We're gonna get to the styling later. Of course, it's all jumbled together now, so we're gonna fix that in our style sheet. So this is where our hero banner start, and then hero banner ends, starts, ends. Then we're gonna target our hero banner first. We are gonna give it a background color of hashtag D7. I'm gonna choose the one that we had in the header, like so. We are gonna give it a padding of 120 pixels by 0 and 35 pixels. So when we are writing padding using only padding instead of padding right, let's say, we can actually define for all the different sides. We have 4 sides: top, left, and right, and bottom. So actually it could be also written like this, and it would be the exact same thing. But we usually leave out the last one, because if we write like this, this means top, left, bottom, and then right. But if we leave one out, then left and right are simply targeted in this middle section here. Let's copy this one down. We're going to target the hero banner and then the H2 inside. We're going to give it a font size of 50 pixels. We are going to give it a font weight of 700. We are going to give it a line height of 1.3. We are going to give it a margin, let's see, bottom of 10 pixels. Then we're going to copy this down. We are going to be targeting the hero banner P. We are gonna give it a font size of 20 pixels. We are gonna give it a font weight of 500. We are gonna give it a line height of 1.5. And we're gonna give it a margin bottom of 37 pixels. And then let's copy it down one more time. Now we're going to target the hero banner A. We're going to give it a padding of 20 pixels by 30 pixels. And we are going to give it a line, let's see, height of 1. Then we're going to target the social logos, and we're going to give it a background color of white, and we're going to give it a padding of 44 pixels by 0 pixels. So as we can see, it's close to the finished product. It's still a bit different because we haven't included our styling for our smaller screens, which is why it looks different from the finished version. We are going to change this later, but it gives us a good overview. If we make it full screen, it actually looks very good. It's only on smaller screens that it gets a bit, not tailored. But we are going to fix that with something called media queries later on. Now we're ready to move on to our what we do section, where we have our cards explaining what our business actually does. So if we go back to our index file, we can copy this one down. We say what we do start, like so, and then we can copy it down, and inside here we're also going to have a section. Inside of this section, or actually we give this section a class first, what we do, and then it's also going to have an ID of what we do. Inside of here we are going to give it a div, and that's going to have class of container. See how we're reusing our classes, saving ourselves a lot of time. We're going to give this a class of row. We are going to give the class under there again, the div a class of column, MD12, like so. Inside here we're going to have an H5. It's going to have a class of sub, let's see, heading. Here we're going to write what we do, like so. And then we're going to have an H2 under here. It's going to have a class of main heading. And here we're going to say we provide the perfect solution to your business growth. Save that. Then under the div here, we are going to add another div. It's going to have a class of column MD4. And then inside of here, it's going to be a class of boxes wrapper. And then inside of here, an image. It's going to go into the assets folder, image folder, and then the activity PNG. Looking good. That we're going to just give an alt text of activity. Let's see. Activity, like so. It is also going to have a class of MB3. Under the image, we are going to create an H3. I'm going to say grow. We You're gonna say grow your business. Like that. We are gonna create a paragraph element under here. We help identify the best ways to improve your business. Cool. And then we want to add a link, an A element. We're just going to leave that blank for now, but here we could link to a different page. I'm going to say learn more for that page. And then after the learn more, we're going to add an image inside of the A element. It's going to go to the assets folder, image folder, and the right arrow PNG. And we're going to just give that an alt text of arrow, like so. Cool. Then we're going to copy everything here with the class column MD. We're going to copy everything down. You see this is the start and that's the end. You see it's highlighted when I click it. This one is highlighted. So this one, copy that, Shift Alt down, hit save, and we see that it copies the whole thing. The next one is going to have the same class. It's going to have the same boxes wrapper. We're just going to change here to heart PNG. And here we're going to say heart. And then we're going to change the text a bit. Improve brand loyalty, like so. And then we help identify. We help identify the best ways to improve your business. Let's just keep that same. Learn more, the same. We have something weird going on here. Like so. Copy it down one more time. And here we are gonna write work. Here we're gonna write work. And that's it. Let's see, improve brand loyalty. Here we're gonna say improve business model. And then capital here. Like so. Now we are done with this section. Let's go into our style sheet. You can make a comment here. What we do start. And then what we do end. So we're going to target what we do first. We're going to give it a padding of 65 pixels and 0. Then we're going to go into our sub heading. We're going to give it a font size of 20 pixels. We're going to give it a font weight of 500. We're going to give it a line height of 1.2. We're going to give it a margin bottom of 15 pixels. And we're going to give it a color of hashtag 20. And we're going to choose this one we already have, 20B15A. We're going to text transform it to uppercase, making the text uppercase. Like so. What we do. And then we are going to target the main heading. We are going to give it a font size of 30 pixels. We are going to give it a font weight of 600. We're going to give it a line height of 1.3. And we're going to give it a margin bottom of 40 pixels. Then target what we do, and then also the boxes, wrapper inside. Gonna give it a padding, 50 pixels, 50 pixels, 50 pixels, and then 30 pixels. Then we're gonna give it a border radius of 30 pixels, and we're gonna give it a transition of all 0.35 seconds linear, like so. Okay, and then this is gonna come in handy for our hover effect here with our card display. Then background color white. Then we're going to copy this one down. We are going to target the box's wrapper, hover, and we are going to say box shadow 0, 4 pixels, 20 pixels, and 0, and here it's going to be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, A, which is just slightly darker. Do we have 4 zeros? 6 zeros, like so. And here we see we have our animation and our hover effect. Again, it doesn't look exactly like in our finished product because we haven't really tailored the mobile view yet. Now let's copy down this one again. What we do, boxes wrapper, but it's not going to be hover, it's going to be H3. I'm going to give it a font size of 24 pixels. We're going to say font weight of 600. We're going to give it a line height of 1.2. And we're going to give it a margin bottom of 15 pixels. Then let's copy it down one more time. Here we're going to target not the H3 but the paragraph element. We're going to give it a font size of 18. We are going to give it a font weight of 400, line height of 1.5, and margin bottom of 40 pixels. Then we are going to comment it down one more time. It's going to be boxes wrapper, not paragraph, but A. We're going to give it a transition of all 0.35 seconds linear. It's going to be font size 18, font weight 400, line height is going to be 1. We are going to have padding 15 pixels by 20 pixels. We are going to give a border, let's see, radius of 10 pixels. We're going to give it a display of inline block. We are going to give it a text decoration of none. And then we are going to give it a color of inherit. Then we are going to target it again, but when we are hovering over the box wrapper, hover, and then A again. And then here we are going to say color white, and background color is going to be hashtag F55F1D. So like so. Then we're going to copy it one more time. What we do, boxes wrapper, A. This is not going to be hover, A, and then image. And here we're going to have a transition. It's going to be all gonna be all 0.35 seconds and linear as well. And same thing, copy it down. Now it's gonna be when we hover over the image, we're gonna add a filter and we're gonna invert using 1. And what this does, it inverts the color of our arrow here from light to dark. If we see, we remove it, we save, and now we see that the arrow stays dark. So that's what this part does. That is the end of what we do section. Now we can move on to this section here. Let's go to our index file. After this one, just copy it down. We can say our progress start, copy it down, end, and inside of here, we can start writing our section. You should get used to this by now. It's gonna be the same layout. We have a class, we're gonna call it our progress, and I think it's good. It's a good practice for you to see the repetitiveness here, because we see that we are reusing our classes that we already made. So we only have to style certain things once, and then we can reuse them in all our different sections, which is very, very useful. And then we're gonna give it a class, container. Under here, we're gonna give this class a row. Let's see, class row. Under here, another div. It's gonna have a class of column, just column. And then under here, UL, it's gonna have a class of nav, justify content center. Inside of the UL, it's gonna be a list. It's gonna have no class actually, it's gonna have an image. Image is gonna point to assets, image, and then project plan. And the alt is gonna be project plan. And then inside of the actual image, and then after the image, we're gonna have an H4. It's gonna say completed projects. And then after that, we're gonna have an H2, which is gonna say 100 plus. Save that, and we see we have our first part here. Now we can copy down our lists. 1, 2, 3. In the next one, we're gonna change that. We're gonna change it to rating. And then we're gonna say here, rating. And then we're gonna say customer satisfaction. And we're gonna say 20%. That's very low. Let's put, I don't know why I said that, 90%, let's put. Customer satisfaction is 90%. We're gonna give the next one the raise, like so. We're gonna say this is raised by clients 10 million. Let's put a $sign here, like so. And here we need to have another alt text. Let's say raise. I skipped one. Let's just copy this one down. Doesn't really matter, but to keep it in the same format as the finished project. So rating, raised, the next one, and the last one is gonna be timeline, PNG. Let's say timeline. And then we're gonna say years in business. And that's gonna be 2 years. Now we can style this in our style sheet. Let's open that. We can write our comment. Here's gonna be our progress start and end, like so. Inside of here, we're gonna target our progress, like so. Let's see. Here we're gonna give a padding of 80% and 0, and background color of hashtag FAFFFNB, like so. Slightly more different color here. Also, this is very big. It's not 80%, it's 80 pixels. That looks a bit better. Then let's copy this down. Our progress and UL and then list elements inside. We are also going to give this a padding of 40 pixels. And then we are going to give it a border. Let's see, we're going to give it a border right of 1 pixel solid, and then hashtag C4, actually C4, C480, like so. We only need to write it once, then we can target it. That's good. Then we're gonna text align to the center, like so. Then we're gonna copy it down again. We're gonna go into the UL, into the list. We're gonna target the last child, so this one. We are gonna say border, let's see, border right, none, like so. As we can see on the full scale website, we have a divider between them when we are in the desktop view. When we are in the mobile view, they disappear. For now, they're going to stay there until we add our media queries later. Then let's copy it down again. We're going to go into the UL, the list, and then we're going to go into the image. We're going to go into the margin, bottom 10 pixels, like so. We are going to go and to the UL, the list, and then the H4. Here the margin bottom is going to be 15. Then we're going to add a font size of 16 pixels. Then we're going to add a font weight of 500 and a line height of 1. Then let's copy it one more time. We are going to add an H2 here instead of an H4. Margin, all margins are going to be 0. And then font size is going to be 40 pixels. Font weight is going to be 700. Line height is going to be 1.5. And then color is going to be hashtag 20B158. And that is everything for our progress section. So moving on, next thing we're going to make is our portfolio section. This So if we go to our index, we go to the progress end here, we add a new comment. Let's see, portfolio start, Shift Alt down, portfolio end. Inside of here, we are gonna add yet another section. This is gonna have a class of portfolio. It's also gonna have an ID of portfolio, so we can target it in our links. We're gonna give a div under here, you know the drill, class with container, another div, class with row, inside here, another div, and class column MD12. Save that. Okay. Inside of here, we're gonna have an H5. Inside here, we're gonna say our portfolio, and then we're gonna say H2. We provide the perfect solution, and then we're gonna have a page break here, or a line break, BR, and then we're gonna say to your business growth. So that is basically just breaking the sentence here, as we can see, after solution to your business growth. So it always starts on a new line here. That's what this BR does. Then under the div, we're gonna add another div. It's gonna have a class of portfolio container. Inside here, we're gonna have a div with a class of portfolio wrapper. And inside here, there's gonna be an image, to assets folder, image folder, and then portfolio 1. And then our alt is gonna say portfolio 1. Save that, that's our first image. Under the image, we're gonna have an H4. We're gonna say digital marketing agency website. And then under the H4, we're gonna have a paragraph. This, we're gonna write lorem and then 20, and then hit save, hit enter and then save, and that just gives us some lorem ipsum text. And the 20 defines how many words we get. Then we are gonna copy everything in the portfolio wrapper. We're gonna copy it 4 times or 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So for the second wrapper, the image is gonna be number 3. The third one is gonna be number 2. It's a bit confusing. The fourth one is gonna be number 4. And that's due to their height. And that is due to their heights that are alternating wide and short, or high and low. We're just gonna change the numbers here, 2 and 3, make that correct. And that is all we need for our portfolio section. Now let's go into our style sheet to style it. So portfolio start, and then portfolio end, and then inside of here, we are gonna target our portfolio first. We're gonna give it a padding of 75 pixels and 0. Then we are gonna target our portfolio container. We're gonna give it a column gap of 2, and we're gonna give it a column count of 2. Actually, we're gonna give it a column gap of 6 EM. There we go. Then we're gonna target our portfolio h2 main heading, and then we're gonna give that a margin bottom of 75 pixels. Then we are gonna target our portfolio and then our portfolio wrapper. And we're gonna give that a display of inline block. We're gonna give it a width of 100%, and we're gonna give it a break inside of a void. What this break inside does is it tries to make all the elements of one portfolio section on the same line, basically on the same row. So we don't want to have the image on one row and then the text kind of coming on the next row under it. We want to keep that together. And this break inside a void tries to avoid breaking it up. Next, we are going to target our portfolio, and then we're going to target our portfolio wrapper, and we're going to target the nth child. So every odd number, so number 1 and number 3, we are going to give it a margin of 0.06 EM, like so. Then we're going to target our portfolio and then our portfolio wrapper and then our image. And we are going to give it a margin bottom of 42 pixels. We are going to give it a width of 100%. Then let's copy down this one. We are going to target the H4 instead of the image. We are going to give it a font size of 23 pixels. We are going to give it a font weight of 600. We're going to give it a line height of 1.2. And we're going to give it a margin bottom of 15 pixels. Then we're going to copy this one down. We are going to target our paragraph instead. It's going to be a font size of 15 pixels. It's going to be a font weight of 400. It's going to be 1.5 in line height. It's going to have a margin, like so, of 0. It's going to have a padding right of 27 pixels. And that's it for our portfolio for now, before we add our media queries to make them look a bit better on smaller screen sizes. I see we are missing our space here. Something is not spacing as it should. As we can see here, I think that is something we need to address right away. So I see in our HTML here, we have forgotten to add in our H5 here a class of subheading, as well as in our H2 a class of main heading. Let's save and see if that fixed the issue. It did. Cool. Is that not supposed to have more space as well? I think so. And then the rest of the spacing here and the fact that it's more out to the side, less margins and padding, is going to come with the media queries. But for now it looks good. Which means we can move on to our next section, which is testimonial start. And then here we're going to write end. So inside of here, we are gonna have, you guessed it, a section. This section is gonna have a class of testimonials. Inside of here, a div with a class of container. Inside here, a div with a class of row. Inside here, we have another div with a class of column and d12. See how we're getting to use these over and over again and saving ourselves a lot of time. H5, let's not forget our classes here. Sub heading, here it's going to say testimonials in capital, and then an H2, and we're going to give that a class. Give that a class of main heading, and see what our customer, give it a line break here, say about us, customers, like so. See what our customers say about us. Perfect. Then under the last div here, we are gonna add another div. It is gonna have a class of testimonials container. It's gonna have another div in here with a class of testimonials slider. Inside here, it's gonna have another div, class item. And inside here, it's gonna be a paragraph. We're just gonna write lorem 30 here, like so. Actually, let's write lorem 20, make it a bit smaller, like so. After the P, another div. After the P, another div with a class of client detail, and then the flex, and then justify content start, and then also align items center. Inside of this div, we are gonna add an image. It's gonna go into the asset folder, image folder, avatar, and then we are gonna write avatar, like so. There's our avatar. Under the image, we are gonna add another div. It's gonna have the class of wrapper. Inside here, we're gonna have the H4 Emily Stone, and a paragraph, say CEO Marketing Guru. That's her title. Then we're actually gonna, let's close this div with the class item and just copy it 3 times. 1, 2, 3, Shift Alt down. That's gonna give us 4 similar ones, like so. Of course, when you have real testimonials, you change that out with the real ones, but now for the sake of brevity, we're just making copies. And that is all for our testimonials HTML. Let's go into our style sheet. Scroll to the bottom. Create our testimonials start. Shift Alt down and end. Inside of here, we're gonna start by targeting the testimonials, like so, padding of 115 pixels and 0. Then we're gonna target the testimonials slider, and then every item inside, we're gonna give it padding of 40 pixels. We're gonna give it a border radius of 20 pixels. We're gonna give it a box shadow of 0, 4 pixels, 0, and then hashtag 6 times 0, and then 40. Save that. That gives us a nice box. Then we're gonna target testimonials, slider, and then the item, and then the P. We're gonna give that a font size 18 pixels, font weight 400, line height 25 pixels, margin, let's see, margin bottom 20 pixels. Then we're gonna target testimonials, container, and then margin left 5%, and then testimonials, slider, item, and then client detail, and then we're gonna give a gap of 10 pixels, like so. Let's copy paste this one down, and then just add an H4 at the end, and then give it a font size of 20 pixels, give it a font weight of 600, give it a line height of 1.2, and give it a margin, let's see, bottom of 5 pixels. Let's copy it down again. Now we're gonna target the paragraph. We're gonna give it a margin of 0. Let's target it one more time, Shift Alt down, and give it a image instead of a paragraph. Say background. It's gonna be hashtag 2427291A. And then border radius 60 pixels, height 60 pixels, width 60 pixels, object fit color. There we go. Then we are gonna target the testimonials slider. We're gonna target the slick track, and then we are gonna give it a padding of 20 pixels and 0. Then we are gonna target the testimonial slider slick list. These are things that come with the downloaded basically slider that we downloaded and linked to. Padding 0, 20%, 0, 0. Then we're gonna target the slick prev before and the slick next before, and we're gonna display none. Then we're gonna target the testimonials slider, and then the slick arrow. We're gonna say left unset. We're gonna say right 7%. We're gonna say bottom unset. We're going to say top minus 125 pixels, border 1 pixel solid, black, height 60 pixels, width 60 pixels, border radius 60 pixels, display is gonna be inline flex, and then justify content is gonna be to the center, align items to the center, background color to white, transition all 0.35 seconds, linear. Let's copy paste this one down. We're just using slick arrow and then SVG. Let's remove all of this. I'm going to say fill, black. Then we are going to say height, 22 pixels. Then we're going to say width, 22 pixels. Then let's copy this one down, slick, arrow, and then it's going to be hover, a background color of hashtag D7, and then pick F5DC, border color is going to be the same, D7, like so. The testimonials slider, and then the slick prev stands for previous. That's going to be to the right 13%. So obviously nothing is happening here. There's no slider because we have to add a bit of JavaScript, but we're going to do that at the end to make this work. Then let's go back to our HTML. We are going to add a new section here. It is going to be our newsletter start, and then end, and inside of here we are gonna start with our not section. Here we're just gonna have a div, and it is gonna have a class of subscribe, and then inside of here we are gonna have a class of container. Inside of here, another div. We're going to give it a class of row, as well as justify content center. And then under here, we're going to give another div with a class column MD, let's see, not 12, but 8. And then colon LG 5, and then text center, like so. Inside of here, H5, class, subheading, we're gonna write subscribe, and then we have an H2 with a class main heading, subscribe to get the latest news about us, like so. Looking good. Under the H2, a paragraph. Please drop your email below to get daily updates about what we do. Something like that. And then under the P, we add a form with an ID, let's see, of subscribe form, like so. We're gonna not have an action here. Inside of our form, we're gonna have an input. It's gonna be of type of email. As well, we're gonna have a name. It's gonna be subscribe. We're also gonna have an ID of subscribe. And we're gonna say that this form input is gonna be required. You can't send the form in without filling this input in. And then the placeholder, the text that we see before we write anything, is going to say enter your email address. And then we're going to use this ID to basically target it in JavaScript. Then we're going to say another input. It's going to be input type submit. It's gonna have a value of subscribe. And if you see now, if I try to enter something, if I try to hit the subscribe, it's gonna say that this is a required field. Under the form, we're gonna add a div with an ID of subscribe response message. And here we're gonna add as well as a style, inline style here with display none, like so. That is the end for our newsletter. Let's go style it in our sheet here. So adding a new comment, newsletter start and end. Inside here, we're going to target the subscribe like so. We're going to give that a padding of 95 pixels and 0. Then we are going to target subscribe and the H5 subheading. We are going to give it a margin bottom of 22 pixels. Then we are going to target the subscribe and the H2 main heading, and that is going to be text transform, capitalize, and then we're going to give it a line height of 1.5, and we're going to give it a margin bottom of 5 pixels. Then we're going to target the subscribe again, but the paragraph, and we are going to give it a font size of 15 pixels. We're going to give it a font weight of 500, and we're going to give it a line height of 22 pixels, as well as color of hashtag 8B8B8B, like so, and a margin bottom of 40 pixels. Then we're going to target our subscribe form, and then the input, and then the input of type equals equals email in double quotation marks, and we're gonna give it a padding of 20 pixels by 16 pixels and a border radius of 14 pixels and a border of 1 pixel solid black and width of 100%. We're also going to give it an outline of 0 and also a max, let's see, max height of 62 pixels. Let's copy this down. We're going to target the subscribe form input, and we're going to say placeholder for the placeholder text. It's going to have a font size of 16 pixels. It's going to have a font weight of 400. It's going to have a line height of 22 pixels. And it's going to have a color of 8, see hashtag 8b8b8b. Let's copy this previous one down again. Control C, Control V. Now we're going to target the type, not email, but of submit. We're going to say that the position is going to be absolute, and then it's going to have a right of 4.5 pixel from the right border. It's going to have a padding of 8 pixel, 24 pixel. It's going to have a border radius of 14 pixels. It's going to have a background color of hashtag F55, etc. It's going to have a border of none. It's going to have an outline of 0. It's going to have a color of white. And it's going to have a height of 52 pixels. And it's going to have a top of 4.5 pixels. Pixels like that. Top 4.5 pixels, like so. And then we are going to target our subscribe form. We're going to say that its position is relative. And you see that that brings our button here because the position absolute will basically be absolute within the first parent element that has the position of relative. And if nobody has that at all, it's going to be the top element, which is the HTML tag. And as we can see here, our submit is within the form, and we just gave the form, subscribe form, the position relative. So it's relative within this box here. Then we are going to target our div, hashtag subscribe response message, and we are going to write margin top 15 pixels. We're going to give it a font size of 15 pixels. We're going to give it a font weight of 500, and we're going to give it a line height of 22 pixels, as well as a color of hashtag 8b8b8b. Then we are done with our newsletter. So moving on to our final part of our index.html, our footer. So footer start, footer end, and inside of here we have a footer accurately described with a class of site footer. Inside of here we have a div with a class of container. Inside of here we have another div with a class of row. Inside of here a div with the class column not LG but MD5. Inside of the div we have an H2 and it has an A element inside with just a line here for the href web logo. See, that's that. Cool. Under the H2 we have a paragraph, lorem 15, like so. That looks good. Under the paragraph we're going to add an unordered list with a list item. The unordered list has a class of nav and social icons. Inside of the list we have an A element with a link to https://facebook.com, and then we have a target here that says that it should open in a new tab. And then we have inside of here we have an E class, and inside of here we have a class of BI Facebook, which is again bootstrap image for the Facebook logo. Now let's copy this list element 3 times. 1, 2, 3. The second one is gonna be Twitter, and that's gonna be BI Twitter. The next one is going to be LinkedIn, same thing here, LinkedIn, and then the fourth, Instagram and Instagram, like so. Save, scroll down, we see we have all of the icons. Then under this div, the first div, under the UL, we're gonna add another div. It's gonna have a class of col/md4. Inside of here, h3 quick links. That is not supposed to go there. That's inside of the h3, like so. Under there are UL with a class of nav, footer, menu, and also flex column. Inside of here, you guessed it, a list item with an A with a link, and then the first one is just going to go to the what we do section, and we can say services, like so. So if we click this one, we go up to the what we do section. Then we can copy this list element down 3 times, 1, 2, 3. The next one is going to go to the portfolio section. Rename that to portfolio. Looking good. Next one is about us. Here we don't have a link. Same with the next one. Contact us, like so. Then under the first div here, we're gonna add another div. It's gonna have a class of col MD, not 4, but 3, with an H3 address, and then a paragraph, design agency head office, place, road, let's add a break here, and then country for the country. Then under this div, we're gonna add another div. It's gonna have a class called MD12. Inside here, a paragraph class with a class of copyright, and inside we're gonna write copyright, and then the and symbol and copy, which is the HTML way of writing, and also the colon, like so, which is the HTML symbol for the copyright symbol. Let's see, we get it there. And then space design agency 2023. That is everything for our HTML. We are done with our HTML. Congrats! Now we are gonna go and style this part. So new comment here, footer start and footer end. And then inside of here, we are gonna target the site footer first. We are gonna give it a padding of 75 pixels, 0 and 30 pixels. Then we're gonna give it a background color of 00 CA72. Then we are gonna target the site footer and the H2s. Font size 39 pixels, font weight 700, line height 1.2, and margin bottom 20 pixels. Then we're going to target the site footer H2A color, and we're going to set that to inherit, and text decoration to none. Then we're going to target site footer, and then social icons, not logos, icons. And then we're going to hit margin top 20 pixels, margin, actually no margin, column gap 15 pixels. Let's copy this one down like so. And then after the social icons, we're going to go into the list, and the A element, we are going to give it a height of 41 pixels. We're going to give it a width of 41 pixels. We are going to give it a border radius of 41 pixels. We're going to give it a background color of hashtag 20b15a. We're going to give it a color of white. We're going to give a font size of 17 pixels. We're going to give it a display of inline flex. We're going to give it justify content to the center, and we're going to align the items to the center. Nice. Then let's copy this down one more time. Instead of here, we're going to just add the I element here, and we're just going to give it a line height of 1. Then we're going to target the site footer H3, font size of 20 pixels, font weight of 600, line height of 1.2, and margin bottom of 25 pixels. And then site footer, footer menu, row gap of 25 pixels. Let's copy this one down. And then target the link and the A. We are gonna give that a display of inline block. We're gonna give it a font size of 18 pixels. We're gonna give it a font weight of 500 pixels. We're gonna give it a line height of 1. We're gonna give it a color of inherit. And we're gonna give it a text decoration of none. Then we are gonna give the site footer and then the copy right, margin 70 pixels, 0, 0. So now we are actually done with our main styling. Now we are gonna add some media queries to make our website look good, because now it looks good on the desktop. It's looking really good here. We see that we have in a normal width, or pretty big width here, we have things looking good. Things are lining up. But when we go down to smaller sizes and even smaller like this, we see that things are a bit wonky. They're not as pretty as they could be. So we're gonna fix that by adding media queries. So start and then media queries, and down here. So first, the way media queries work is we target the media screen, and we say that for anything that is the max width like so of 99 pixels, in other words everything that is smaller than 1200 pixels we are targeting within this media screen here. So this styling is only functional when we go under this size. And that's the beauty of media screens, because then we can give mobile version a different display than the desktop version. Okay, so first of all, we're going to target the container. And we are going to say that the max width is going to be 1140 pixels, like so. Then we're going to target the hero banner, and then the H2. We're going to say the font size is going to be 44 pixels. Then we're targeting the social, let's see, social logos, and we are going to give them a padding of 35 pixels at 0. Let's give them a bit space here. Then we're going to target what we do, and the boxes wrapper, we're going to give it a padding of right 30 pixels. Let's copy this one down. Next one is going to be H3, and that's going to have a min height of 57 pixels. Can remove the last one here. Then we're going to target the testimonial slider, and then the slick arrow inside, and we're going to say right 15 pixels, and we're going to copy this down, slick not arrow, but prev, and that's gonna be right 46 pixels, and then testimonials slider, actually that's gonna be 90 pixels, and then the testimonials, not slider, but container, that's gonna have a margin left of 0, and then the testimonials slider slick list is gonna have a padding of 0 and 10% and 0, 0. Then we're gonna target the testimonials and also the subscribe, and we're gonna give them a padding of 80 pixels, 0, and then we're gonna target our progress and give them a padding of 60 pixels, 0, and we're gonna target that, and we're gonna say testimonials slider and then the item inside, and that's gonna have a padding of 30 pixels. So that is making all the screen sizes under 1199 pixels behave like this. But on really small screen sizes, it's still not really lining up very well. So we need to add another media query that is gonna work even under this screen here. So let's collapse it, copy paste it, like so, and then we can change this number here to 992, and we're further adding a bit more different styling on this screen size. So the first one we're going to target here is the header, and then we're going to go into the nav bar, expand LG, and then into the nav bar nav. Okay, and here we want to give it a row gap of 20 pixels, like so. Then we go into the hero banner, we're going to change this, we're going to decrease it a bit more. Let's see how big is our screen here. That is definitely, you can see here it's 702. So we're going to decrease it to 34 pixels, like so. Then we are going to copy this one down, hero banner P, that is going to be font size of 16 pixels with a margin bottom of 20 pixels, and then also just the hero banner by itself. That's gonna be a padding of 90 pixels, 0, 25 pixels. The social logos we don't need. Then we target what we do boxes wrapper. It's gonna have a padding of 30 pixels. What we do boxes wrapper, we're gonna copy this one. We're gonna add image here, like so. We're gonna say they're gonna have a width of 70%, 70 pixels. Then the H3 is gonna decrease to 20 pixels. And then we're gonna copy this down. We are gonna write paragraph here, font size. Oh, sorry, this was minimum height. We meant to have that as font size. And same here, font size is gonna be 16, and then margin bottom is gonna be 20 pixels. Then let's target the A here, and we're gonna say font size is also gonna be 16 pixels. Margin, actually padding, is gonna be 10 pixels and 15 pixels. Then another copy paste. We're gonna go into the A and we're gonna go into the image inside, and we're gonna say width is gonna be 14 pixels, like so. So after the boxes wrapper A image, let's just remove everything here so that we can see better. Here we are gonna target our progress. We are gonna say, let's go down there. We are gonna say padding, 50 pixels, 0. Copy that down. Our progress UL list. It's gonna have a border radius of none. And then we're gonna target our portfolio container. We're gonna give that a column gap of 4 EM. Then let's copy this one down, portfolio, not container, just portfolio, and then portfolio wrapper. And then it's gonna be the nth child odd. And we're gonna give that a margin of 004 EM. Let's copy this one down. Just target the portfolio wrapper and then the paragraph inside. Give that a font weight, actually font size, 14 pixels, and padding right of 0. Moving on, we want to target our testimonials as well as our subscribe. We're gonna give that a padding of 60 pixels and 0. Then we're gonna target the testimonials slider and then the slick, let's see, arrow. We're gonna give that a height of 50 pixels and, oops, and a width of 50 pixels. Copy this one down, slider, slick list. We're gonna give that a padding of 30%, 0. We're gonna see these later when we do the JavaScript. And then site footer, call MD for, and that's gonna be a width of 25%. Let's copy that down. Change that to 3. That's gonna be a width of 33.33%. Let's copy that down. And here we're gonna write footer menu list A. And we're gonna give that a font size of 16 pixels. And also copy that down. Remove the list and the A, just target the menu. We're gonna give that a row gap of 15 pixels. We're gonna do this one more time for our media screen. So media screen and inside here we're gonna target the max width under 767 pixels And then we're going to target the break here. We're going to say display none. We are going to then target the main heading, and we are going to give it a font size 27 pixels. Then we're going to target the subheading. We're going to give that a font size of 18 pixels. We're also going to give it a margin bottom of 8 pixels, like so. Then we're going to target the header without the dot. Header space nav bar, let's see, navbar dash collapse. And we're going to give that a padding top of 30 pixels. Let's see. Are we smaller than 767? Yeah, we are. Cool. Then under here, we are going to target the hero banner. Call MD. And it's going to be 6. And we're going to text align to the center. And we're going to align items to the center as well. Then we are going to target the hero banner dot row, as well as the what we do dot row, and inside here we're going to give them a row gap of 30 pixels. Then our social logos, and then the dot nav. We're going to justify the content to the center, and we are going to give them a row gap of 25 pixels. Under here, we're going to target our social logos dot nav, and then the list. And in here, we're going to give it a flex of 0, 0, 100%, and we're going to give it a padding of 0, 15 pixels, and also a text align of center. And then we are going to go down to the what we do, and the boxes wrapper, and then the H3. We're going to give it a min height of auto. Then we are going to target our progress, the UL, and then the list. And then we're going to give that a padding of 25 pixels and a flex of 0, 0, 100%. Next, portfolio. Let's see, container. We are going to give that a column. Let's see, column count of 1. So now it's only 1 per column. Then copy this down. Portfolio container. Actually, no, just portfolio, and then portfolio wrapper. And then we're going to add a margin of 0, 0, 3 EM. Copy this one down, portfolio wrapper, but the last child, and that's going to have a margin of 0. That's this one. Then we're going to target our testimonials. Let's see, testimonials slider, and then our slick list. Padding. We're going to set that to 0. and then copy that down. Now it's gonna be item and then P, and we're gonna change that to font size 16 pixels. Copy that down one more time, remove the P, we're gonna say padding, and that's gonna be 25 pixels. Let's copy that down. Item, and here it's going to say client detail and then H4, and here we're going to give a font size of 18 pixels. Copy that down. Instead of item, we are going to write slick arrow. It is going to have a height of 40 pixels. It is going to have a width of 40 pixels. It's going to have a top of minus 15 pixels. Copy that. We're going to go into the SVG. We're going to give it a height of 17, and we're going to give it a width of 17 as well. Then we're going to copy this one. We're going to say slick prev. We're going to give that a right of 70 pixels. And then we're going to target the subscribe, and then the form inside there, and then the input inside there. And then we're going to target the placeholder text, and we're going to say font size 14 pixels. Then we're going to copy that down. Then we're going to target the site footer, and then the row, and then the row gap of 30 pixels. Let's copy that down. Site footer, and then instead of row, copy right. That's gonna have a margin of 30 pixels, 0, 0. And it's gonna have a text align of center. Then we're gonna just target the site footer, like so. And we're gonna give it a padding of 60 pixels, 0, 30 pixels. And then our very last CSS, we're going to target the site footer, call MD4, and the site footer, call MD3, and we're going to give it a width of 100%. Like so. And that is the end of our CSS. Now let's double check with our design agency site here. Let's see if we can put that on the same width. That looks pretty similar. We have some difference here. I wonder if it's because I put the and here, so it's just because it looks to be the same size and things are just moving around a bit. Yeah, I added the customers here. Here's the customer. So let's add that back all the way in the top. Increase your customers loyalty. Let's see. Now it looks to be the same, yeah. And here I added the and. So this is the same. Let's move on. Let's scroll down here. Looks to be the same. Let's go to what we do. What we do. Here's what we do. It looks to be the same as well. Learn more. We can click that. Now it just takes us to the main page. Okay, so that looks to be similar. Cool. This part. Yeah, looks good. Our portfolio. Our portfolio looks really good. Then we get to our testimonials, which we haven't coded in our JavaScript yet, but it looks good. Let's see that at the end, if it fits, when we have added our JavaScript. The subscribe looks good. The footer looks like everything. The footer is missing something here at the very last part. So let's go up to the 992. It's supposed to be, dun, dun, dun. It's supposed to be here. I think we just forgot to add it. So let's add that here. Site footer paragraph. And then font size 16 pixels, and then also line height is 25 pixels, like so. Doesn't really change the issue here, but it makes it the same, so we can check what's the difference. Border box. Not sure where this is coming from, but let's go down, all the way down, and let's put it to text align left, like so. Save that, and then it's all adding up to how we want, because this isn't looking good. I think I made a mistake here, but yeah, let's put it to left align, and then everything is left aligned. So we fixed that. Everything else looks to be working, and then we can basically see how is it full screen. It's looking very good apart from the slider. Okay, so let's open up we can close our style sheet, we can even close our index.html, and we can open our JavaScript file. So we're going to first write document, then we're going to write dot get element by ID, and we're going to write the colons here, and then we're going to target the elements we want to get. We're going to subscribe form. So this is similar to how in CSS we target classes. Here we are targeting an ID, get element by ID. We're putting the document first, that's just how we have to write it, to target this ID element here. And that's the syntax for it. It's not something you need to kind of memorize, it's just the syntax. There's no logic, or the logic here is we're getting the whole document, the whole website, then we're finding the ID with subscribe form. Then we're putting another dot, we are adding an event listener to this element. And the event listener is going to be listening to a submit event. Submit. So whenever we click the submit button, we're going to run a function. And inside here, the function is taking this event, this click event. So when we are clicking here, click, that's this E. And when we have that E, we are going to do some code. That's this function. The function lives here, and inside of the function we tell basically the code what to do. So when the E happens, we want to prevent the default, which is basically going to a new page. So we're stopping that. Then next, we are defining with the let keyword a variable. This is a variable we can change compared to a const that we cannot, because then it's a constant. So let email input equals document, and then again we're going to get an element by ID, and we say we want to get the subscribe element. Let's also turn on our word wrap. So we want to get our subscribe element. Then we also want to get our email element. Email, now we're referencing the variable we just made, email input. And we say, I want the value from this email input. So whatever we're going to be writing in here, that's this value here. And then I want to just save that for now. Then I'm going to say let response message div, and I'm just making up these names. These are not something JavaScript has included already. Document is though, and get element by ID is as well. These are like inbuilt functions that have been pre-built. Just like here we're making our own functions. These are functions we're using within this function that have been pre-made by the JavaScript library. So here we are going to target the subscribe response message, and that's going to be that for now. So we've defined 3 variables. The email input, this box. We have defined the email input value, what we write in it. And then we have defined the response message div. Now we're going to add the logic that if email equals triple equals empty string, basically if this is an empty, you haven't written anything in here, that's what we're saying here. If that's the case, then response message div dot inner HTML equals email cannot be empty, like so. And then otherwise response message div dot style dot display is gonna be changed to block, because by default it is none. So we've hidden it. But if we put something in here now, let's also put a return so that we return out of this function and we don't end up with an infinite loop. So that's that for that logic. And then we're gonna add the email input dot value is gonna be equals to empty string as well. And then we're gonna put the response message div inner HTML thank you, oops, in string, thank you for subscribing. Like so, that's the message we want to give when somebody has subscribed. And then response message div inner HTML, style dot display equals block, like so. And then we are gonna do something that is called the set timeout function, like so. And inside of this function, we're gonna respond message div dot style dot display, and we're gonna set that to none, because when we have given this message, thank you for subscribing, we want to remove the message again. And we are gonna remove it after 5,000 milliseconds. So let's try. Let's write a random email here. We have to put something, gmail.com, subscribe. We are jumping up here. Are we connected with our JavaScript? I wonder. Let's see. Here, if we write something, gmail.com, thank you for subscribing. Okay, cool. Here, if we write something, gmail.com. It is not triggering this. I think it's not preventing the default. Let's see if this is even inspect console. Cannot read properties of undefined. Reading get element by ID script on number 4. So we are not targeting something correctly. The reason this doesn't work is because we have forgot to put something in our script where we are referencing up top in our HTML. On line 46, we have forgotten to put the defer tag, and now this works. If we test here now, gmail.com or whatever, thank you for subscribing. So we need a defer tag to tell the script to run first when the HTML content has run first, because otherwise we're referencing something in our script. We're saying, hey, take this element here, these elements here, and do something with them. But they don't exist yet because the script is running first. And the script runs second when we put the defer. So that is very important. Moving on, we're gonna now make the slideshow work. So we're gonna say $, and then we're gonna say target the testimonials slider. And then you want to add the slick here. This is a pre-made functionality, and we're just saying how to use it. False. This is the jQuery that we were downloading. Look, now we got our slider. And we want to say arrows true. Look, if we change this to true, we get these dots here. We can also click, but we don't want that. We want to say false. If we change the speed, we put it to 300. That's the speed at which it's changing. Slides to show, change that to 2, and we put the prev arrow. And inside of here, we're gonna write single quotes. We're gonna write a div here, and we are gonna write an ending div tag here, and inside of here we're gonna add an SVG. And if we go to icons.getbootstrap.com/icons/chevron left, we get this left arrow, and if we scroll down we can copy paste this SVG in between the divs. Remove the empty spaces here, it's going to give us a bug. Save that, and we see that we get our left arrow here. And then we're going to say next arrow, and we're also going to make a div here, and we're going to put those into single quotes, and we're going to go here and just update this with right. That gives us the right arrow. Copy this code, paste it in between the divs, remove the spacing, and save that, like so. That gives us these two. They have jumped around now for some reason. The reason they are showing up here is because we need to add a class in our div, and it needs to be slick prev, and then let's copy this class down. In the next one it's gonna be slick next, like so. Then they're in the correct spot. Slides to scroll. After that we're gonna have responsive, and inside here we're gonna have something called an array, and inside here we're gonna have something called an object, and we're gonna give it a break point of 992. This is simply more settings that we are creating in this pre-made slideshow that we are downloading. Slides to show is gonna be 1, and then slides to scroll is also gonna be 1. Save that, and then let's copy this down twice. Next one is gonna be for 600 view, and then also for 400. And this is just the same here. I see also we're lacking some padding here. If we go to our style here and we go to our testimonial slider item, line 292 at my style sheet, I have forgotten to add background color here of white and also margin here. It's the margin, not padding. 0 and 23.5 pixels. And there we go. Reload that like so. And we see we have our slideshow looking good on both screens, and I can drag and drop it with my arrow here with my mouse, and also on the phone you could do that with your finger. Cool. And it works going back and forward. With that, our JavaScript is done, and with that our website is also done. It's looking good on the mobile, it's looking good on the big screen and on the medium screen. Cool. Now let's deploy this site so we get it a URL. Let's go to netlify.com, create an account or log in. You're gonna add a new site here, gonna deploy manually. We are gonna drag the folder that we made this whole project in here. Be sure to save all your files first. Then after a couple of seconds, you're gonna see it's gonna have deployed by complete. You can go to site overview here and click here, and our site is deployed for the world to see, and we can put this on our portfolio. If you want to change the name here, you can go to site configuration, change site name, and you can choose a new name that you wish here. You can get your own custom domain without the netlify.app at the end, but that costs some money, of course. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know in the comments if something was unclear. Let me also know what you would like to see in the future. If you would like to see another video like this, there is a suggested one here that I think you might like. Until next time, see ya.